Everybody is tired, drooping shoulders, looking at mobiles to get rid of, to get some fun. This is normal living and this is posture. Posture is the attitude assumed by the body, either with support during muscular inactivity or by means of coordinated action of many muscles working together to maintain stability. Posture are attained to form an essential basis which is being adapted constantly to the movement which is superimposed on it. And posture refers to the position and alignments of the body part, including spine, limbs, head, and about each other and surrounding environment. It encompasses holding oneself while standing, sitting, and lying down. In every position, we have a certain posture. Now, we can classify posture into two types: inactive and active. Inactive, we can active posture is again classified into two: static and dynamic. Inactive posture, my most loved posture. Second, active static posture like standing, sitting, kneeling. Dynamic is walking, in active and dynamic, walking again and running and jumping. Now, posture can be categorized as functional or non-functional. Functional posture, it is characterized by the absence of pain, normal muscle tone, balanced kinetic change, and harmonious muscular segment relationship. Non-functional is adaptive posture secondary to pain, muscular dystonia, abnormal tension, and kinetic chain imbalances. Again, static posture actively resists gravitational dislocation of body segment like in sleeping posture, and dynamic posture maintain balance through synergistic interactions between active component like muscles, passive component like bones and joints, and control system, central nervous system, proprioceptive and exteroceptive system, and the vestibular systems. What is ideal posture? Rehabilitation clinicians widely assess and treat bad posture to improve patient function. But literature lacks a universally accepted definition of posture. With recent research characterizes it as highly individual rather than adherent to a fixed standard. Till date, the relationship between the postural alignment and musculoskeletal dysfunction remains unclear and inconsistent. The emerging view in rehabilitation is that rather than striving for an arbitrarily ideal posture, it may be more beneficial to cultivate postural variability, the ability to comfortably change and adapt one posture to different situation. Ideal posture which can adapt as per circumstances. Now, a few anatomical landmarks for screening of postures. In lateral view is most commonly assessed prospective in the clinical posture evaluation. It provides information about the spine's natural curves and body's relationship to gravity through the line of weight-bearing joints. This view allows clinician to evaluate forward head posture, one of the text head, thoracic kyphosis, lumbar lordosis, and overall anterior posterior balance using a plumb line. Line reference that ideally passes through the key anatomical landmarks from head to foot. Lateral view, those landmarks are external auditory meatus and bodies of the vertebrae acromion process, bodies of the lumbar vertebrae, greater trochanter, lateral epicondyle of femur, and lateral malleolus. This is the ideal line of gravity, plumb line passing through the external auditory meatus, and again bodies of the cervical, acromion, bodies of the lumbar vertebrae, greater trochanter, and lateral malleoli. Anterior and posterior view. The anterior and posterior are equally important for comprehensive assessment. They reveal asymmetry, lateral deviation, and rotational components that cannot be detected from a lateral perspective alone. The anterior view is particularly valuable for identifying shoulder height differences, pelvic obliquities, and lower extremity alignment issue, while the posterior view provides essential information about spinal scoliosis, scapular positioning, and bilateral symmetry. In anterior view, key landmarks are nose, chin, and its jugular notch, Geoffroy's process, and umbilicus and symphysis pubis. Whereas in posterior view, it is external occipital protuberance, spinal process of the cervical vertebrae, spinal process of the thoracic vertebrae, spinal process of the lumbar vertebrae, and medial sacral notch and gluteal cleft. This is anterior view. A plumb line is passing through nose, chin, jugular notch, xiphoid, xiphisternum, and pubic symphysis, and this is posterior view, passing through occipital protuberance, spine of cervical vertebrae, lumbar vertebrae, thoracic and lumbar vertebrae, and gluteal cleft. Now, postural control. Postural control is defined as ability to maintain stability of the body and body segment in response to forces that threatens to disturb the body's equilibrium. It is generally controlled with three components, like first one is muscular control, second is neural, and third is combined neuromuscular control. Muscular control is defined as the amount of the muscle work required for control of both static and dynamic posture. It varies considerably. The major groups of the muscle which are most frequently employed are anti-gravity muscle. And major characteristic of these anti-gravity muscles are they are multipinnate and fan-shaped muscle, which signifies powerful action. And constituent fibers are red, indicating their capability to sustain contraction without fatigue. Then neural control. The ability to maintain stability of any posture is the skill of CNS. CNS learned this ability using information from passive biomechanical elements, sensory system, muscles. The CNS interplay and organize input from various sources and select responses on the basis of past experiences and the goal of the response. The response can be either proactive or reactive. The major goal of the postural control in standing position are to maintain body's center of mass over the base of support, to control body's orientation in space, to stabilize head with regard to the vertical so that the eye gaze is appropriately oriented. The CNS must be able to respond to all the inputs with appropriate outputs to maintain equilibrium to the body. The control is disturbed in two conditions: absent or altered inputs and absent or altered outputs. This is combined neuromuscular control, generally depends on few postural reflexes like vision, vestibular info, proprioceptive, and sensory skin. Base of support. And now we'll discuss about base of support and center of gravity. Center of gravity is also referred to as the center of the mass. Represent the theoretical point where the body's entire mass is concentrated and perfectly balanced in all directions. In an average adult standing upright, this point is typically located approximately at the second sacral vertebrae, though its exact position varies based on the individual anthropometric characteristic, body composition, and current posture. COG is not a fixed point. Rather, it shifts continuously as body segment move, requiring constant neuromuscular adjustment to maintain stability. Now, base of support. Base of support encompasses the entire area of the contact between the body and the supporting surface, which in standing includes both feet and space between them. This support polygon extends from heel of the one feet to the heel of the other, encompassing the lateral border and the toe region, creating a roughly rectangular or oval shaped area depending on the foot position and the stance width. The size and shape of the base of support can be modified through change in the foot placement. Wider stance increase base of support and enhance stability, and narrower stance reduce the base of support and challenge balance system. This is the most important in posture analysis. What is base of support? Base of support is basically concerned is defined as support an area which encompass our heel, toes, and this particular rectangular area. If our center of mass falls in this particular area, our position is stable. Like I am walking like this. There is a propensity to fall. And second, if I am standing straight, I am in most stable position. If I start, this is slightly because my center of mass is falling in the base of support, but again it is in defined area. This is in just we discussed base of support in standing, walking, and walking with walker. The critical relationship between the center of gravity and base of support lies in the vertical line of gravity. An imaginary vertical line that extends downward from the center of gravity towards the Earth's center. For optimal posture stability, this gravitational line must remain within the boundaries of the base of support. When the line of gravity approaches or extends beyond the base of support parameters, the body balance system must activate compensatory mechanisms including postural reflexes, muscle contraction and movement strategies to prevent loss of balance or falling. This dynamic relationship is crucial for maintaining stability because it depends on the amount of the muscular effort required to sustain upright posture. When the center of gravity is centrally positioned within the base of support, minimum muscular activity is needed to maintain balance, resulting in efficient energy expenditure. However, as the line of gravity moves towards the base of support boundaries, increased muscular activation and postural adjustments become necessary to maintain equilibrium. What is good posture? The posture is said to be good when it fulfills the purpose for which it is used, the maximum efficiency and minimum efforts. A state of the body which can be maintained with the minimum of muscular effort and minimum energy expenditure and which is aesthetically pleasant to the eyes. Development of the good posture, a good posture, efficient posture develops naturally, provide the essential mechanisms for its maintenance and adjustments are intact and healthy. The chief factor responsible for good posture are stable psychological background, good hygienic condition, opportunity for plenty of natural free movements. First one is bad, second is good posture. Poor posture is said to be poor when it is inefficient, when it fails to serve the purpose for which it has been designed, or if an unnecessary muscular effort is used to maintain it. Such faulty alignment leads to necessity of additional muscle work to maintain balance. They look aesthetically unpleasant, or this may in itself have an unwelcome psychological reaction. Predisposing factor for bad posture are mental attitude of the person, poor hygienic condition, central debility after a constitutional illness, prolonged fatigue, local factor like pain, muscular weakness, occupational stress or localized tension which leads to muscular imbalance and alters the posture. Example of the few bad posture habits are excessive sitting, carrying a heavy backpack, slumping, poor sleeping position, one-sided activity like carrying a heavy purse, sitting on a wallet, sitting in a twisted position. Effect of habits on posture. Good habits contribute to a strong and stable posture, whereas bad habits contribute to poor posture and instability. And now, how to examine posture? Assessment of posture primarily involves history and observation. In addition, there are postural alignment measures such as flexicurve ruler and other measures that may be used to record postural alignment and changes. With every postural assessment, however, the examiner should perform two tests, leg length measurements and the slump test. This is the chart based on the bony landmark we just discussed, on which we assess the posture. Now, posture malalignments. Common posture abnormalities in the sagittal plane deviation includes forward head posture. The mastoid process lies anterior to the body of the C7 vertebrae. Forward shoulder. The acromion process lies anterior to the body of the C7, or the scapula tilts anteriorly. Excessive or flattened thoracic kyphosis. The sagittal plane curve of the thorax is excessive or inadequate, like exaggerated dorsal kyphosis or flat back. Excessive flattened lumbar lordosis. The sagittal plane curve of the lumbar spine is excessive or inadequate, like exaggerated lumbar lordosis or straightening of spine. Next is anterior or posterior pelvic tilt. The angle made by a line through the ASIS and PSIS, and the horizontal increase or decrease from an angle of approximately 10 to 15 degree. And next is forward backward translation of the pelvis, determined by the location of the greater trochanter with respect to the vertical line through the center of the mass, which is normal alignment passes approximately through the trochanter. Then genorecurvatum. Genorecurvatum angle between the long axis of leg and thigh. This angle generally go beyond 0 degree. These are the few of the deformities evident in sagittal plane postural deviation. This is the few of the images which depict the normal how we progress from minor to major postural deviations. Now, common postural abnormalities in the frontal and transverse plane. In first one is head tilt. The line through the center of the head deviates from the mid sagittal plane. Second is asymmetrical shoulder height measured by the height of the acromion or inferior angle of the scapula. Scoliosis, frontal plane deviation of the vertebral column as assessed by the spinous process. Pelvic obliquity, the asymmetric height of the pelvis as measured by the iliac crest. Asymmetric hip height measured by the height of the greater trochanter or gluteal fold. Then genu valgum varus, angle between the mechanical axis of the leg and thigh in the frontal plane. Foot pronation supination, and last one is intoeing and outtoeing. These are the few of the postural deviation in the frontal plane and coronal horizontal plane. Now, how to do posture analysis? A posture analysis evaluate the posture, balance, alignment, symmetries, asymmetries, and movement pattern. This initial step is essential for improving posture and strengthening muscles. Depending on the healthcare provider, the assessment may examine the spine, gait, muscle strength, and functional movement. The evaluation typically occur in two dimensions, AP and medial lateral. Now, how to re-educate posture? Principle is to cause of poor posture must be found out. Cooperation of patient is a must. Then techniques of the re-education is general relaxation measures and treatment of the pain, mobility most important. Most of the secondary spinal postural changes generally happen secondary to the formation of triggers in the muscles. Mobility, regular mobility is very important. Prolonged it is most harmful. And muscle power, how to improve weekend group and how to stretch tight group is very important.
Can you please explain the use of posture correcting braces? Is there any use of
Sorry?
posture correcting braces? Is there any use of available easily in the market?
Posture correcting brace, this is now in quite a good use. People in Jadatar metropolitan cities are using those, and it is a common trend. I was in Delhi, I was getting lot of calls from foreign firms to use posture correcting brace. But for over the period of time, you can use posture correcting brace, but it is very important to remove it sequentially. Like in office setting, it is very difficult to remove it and re-wear it. Instead, it is much better to do regular stretching like wall push-ups, stretching of neck, and all those instead of using posture brace, because with over the period of time there must be some if you have seen posture brace, there are two straps which are compressing your shoulders, your traps also, and at a time neurovascular bundle also. People are using, but it is very important not to use for extended period of time. It should be removed in between and reapplied.
I'm Dr. Chandni from St. John's. A lot of patients from the IT background come to our OPD asking for what type of chair they should purchase and also if they should use a coccyx dome during their office hours. So what are your thoughts on that, sir?
Again, ergonomic is very important, one of the most important topics. But as per my opinion, there are so many versions. But as per my opinion, I can say an elastic chair with slightly step, like previously we used to use the chair with the cane chair that is normally called with the metallic frame and wooden background. That was the most efficient chair because that generally provides flexibility to spine also, and it provide air to your and decompress the pressure areas also. Nowadays, lot of ergonomic chairs are coming. People are using in IT sector, but have you seen they are coming to you that we are using it, but again we are not getting much relief. Why? They are sitting for extended period of time. If you will sit beyond 40-45 minutes. You are as you aware that sitting posture is the most harmful posture that increases in sitting position. There is intradiscal pressure is the highest. So it is much better to ask to do regular standing and as per their convenient. I can say there is a slight curve in the like in back. There is a few chairs are having slight curve, not much. There is not much elastic property. Those chairs are generally better.